Previously on the Jay and Dan podcast.
I mean, you're with your lady friend here. You don't want to, be insulting.
You don't want to get over the Dutch oven.
But when she said, "I've got gas," I said, "It's on."
Mm-hmm. You should see the people in small town Ireland. Wow, these are bizarre-looking human beings. And you walk into the store, and they point and laugh at you like you're the freakishly looking one.
Mm-hmm. Where in the Battleford?
Move to the Battleford.
I'm not going to North Battleford.
Come
man.
on.
You know what? There's no South Battleford. You know why? They attacked it and blew up the town.
Mm-hmm.
There's no more Mark of the Week. It's gone.
Oh, yeah. I completely forgot about that.
So when Roots comes on, it'll be the Roots of the Week.
What, different members of the Roots, the band on Jimmy Fallon? You just got to name them? Mm-hmm. Almost as bad as Frank D'Angelo.
Hey, someone sent us...
Maybe he could sponsor us. Frank!
The cheetah...
I didn't mean anything I said.
Mm-hmm. You're listening to the Jay and Dan podcast.
Tanzen. I think that's dance in German.
You would like that dunk tank? Sorry, I'm going to crack this. I need this bad.
Yeah, me too.
Oh. Well, welcome to the Jay and Dan podcast, brought to you by Vagisil.
Whoa!
No, we didn't land them yet?
Jeez, what? Ease into it.
Well, I
Loop me up before you put it in.
Trust me.
That's Big City Ken from a previous podcast. The owners of the bar in Peterborough, Ontario, Spanky's, in which Big City Ken left the message. They texted me this weekend. They said 3 guys showed up on Saturday, said they were looking to party with Big City Ken. So it's paying off.
It's going to be a tourist attraction.
That's right. They should have a stool.
Spanky's in Peterborough.
If they were smart, they'd have Big City Ken's. This is where he sat. So people would be taking pictures.
Yeah. Nobody would be allowed to sit there until he finally returned. I wonder if he'll ever...
power always.
I hope you return, Big City Ken. If you're out there and you're listening, you should contact us.
What's wrong with saying Vagisil? It's a product. I'm just searching for any sponsor.
Yeah, just in case anyone's wondering, still no sponsor.
People are wondering, what did you do to Marks?
Exactly. What could we possibly have done to scare them away like that?
So that's funny because...
could it be that we talk about Vagisil?
Well, I was wondering what you could do to a sponsor, and then when I was thinking clothes, it brought me back to a story my sister told me. She works at Vinnie's in Peterborough, Ontario. It's the St. Vincent de Paul, so people come in and get their secondhand, like, groovy clothes.
Right.
Hipster
gear.
Some guy was trying on some pants, and he's like, "Can you come here for a minute?" He's like, "Have a look in those." I guess a gentleman who may or may not have a home had come into the place, gone into the change room, exchanged his pants for a pair of pants on the rack, and put his dirty pants back up on the rack.
Were they like full of poo?
Problem, yes, they were full of crap.
Nice.
So this guy went to try on these pants. He's like, they're full of poo.
Just full of poop.
There's poo everywhere.
Poop pants. And nobody in the store smelled this?
He probably
They just went for days. Just, boy, it smells bad in here, but it's probably the clothes. Well, good night, everyone. Who wants to go for beers?
That is, what a veteran move by that guy, though.
That is pretty slick. You yourself. You walk into Vinnie's, pull a pair of pants, fresh pants off the wall. You could really do that in any store. You could yourself walk into the Gap, get a pair of chinos.
They catch you because they say, how many items? You don't want to buy it? Here, give it to me.
What if you wore a similar colored pair of chinos, except yours weren't soiled?
You'd see the poop through them, though.
Okay, what if you wore like a pair of black jeans? Okay, and you're like, I want a fresh pair of black jeans. I just myself in these ones.
Probably worse.
Just walk right in there. You take fresh pair of black jeans off the wall. Take jeans back on the shelf.
Take some balls. I'm proud of you, whoever did it.
Yeah, that is pretty impressive.
By the way, if you want some records, go to that Vinnie's. You know, you like your records.
Drive to Peterborough.
People don't poop on the records.
How great would it be? That would be a poo-poo platter.
You pull the record out of the sleeve and it's just covered.
Just a poo-poo platter. I said that to the lead singer of Grizzly Bear, Ed Drost. I said, I'm going to send you a picture. I'm going to buy your album, and I'm going to send you a picture of it on Twitter. So I bought a copy of their new album, the new Grizzly Bear album, and I was getting poutine for dinner that day. So I said, hey, Ed, I put the poutine on top of the album. I said, we call it, in Canada, we call this a poo-poo platter. He didn't think I was funny. He hasn't spoken to me since.
Well, it's a good relationship for the length of time it lasted, I'm sure.
Yeah, I guess.
Hey, by the way, you'll know the night that, if you're a regular viewer of SportsCenter, you'll know the night we taped this podcast because Jay and I are both wearing vests. I've never worn a vest before, and it's very comforting.
What brought this on?
Got it from our clothers. I got this suit while you were away on vacation. I said, I got to break it out with Rightsy because he'll have something to say about it.
Well, it's very like Brian Mudrick. It's very stripes and wide lapels. And now I'm wondering because sadly our friend James Cebulski has left the company. And
He's not dead.
No, but he used to bust out the vests.
He did.
So maybe you've just taken the torch from Seaballs and you've run with it?
We could be in Mumford and Sons.
Great Big C, you mean?
No, the Mumford and Sons are big vest guys, aren't they?
Oh, are they? Okay. Oh, I don't understand. Why, if Mumford and Sons are big, why isn't Great Big C big? Aren't the songs the same?
I think they are.
Really feel bad for those Great Big C guys.
They've done well.
The one guy's in an episode of Republic of Doyle.
They're buddies. He's the one who got Colin Farrell on it.
Colin Farrell was on Republic of Doyle?
He was on Republic of Doyle.
Wow. That's a pretty big get.
No. It wasn't Colin Farrell.
I had a feeling you were wrong.
No. Wait. Cinderella Man. Who is in that? Old Man Toolsy. Who's the guy who hit someone with a phone?
Russell Crowe?
Russell Crowe.
He was in that?
Yes, Russell Crowe.
Some guy with short brown hair.
Who did he hit with the phone?
I don't know.
He hit someone with a phone.
Hey, what's Cinderella Man about? Colin Farrell hit some guy with a phone.
That doesn't
That's
happen.
the plot.
That doesn't happen in the movie. By the way, they filmed that movie here, and we're taping in downtown Toronto. They filmed that movie here.
Yeah,
and
I remember
it's
that.
when I still live downtown because they changed the facade of the Eaton Center, the one side, to look like
The Old Bay.
Yeah, it looked like
That's right.
Madison Square Garden.
I did a good job of that, actually.
That was unreal. I was among my people because I was driving home one night and it was all like I was right next to like 1930 cars. I'm like, hey, I've arrived.
I'm home. I'm back. My people.
Old Man Toolsy. So I just joined the cast. I was dressed the
They're
same.
like, should we get this guy makeup? Oh, never mind. No, you're good. No, you're good. I understand that last week you were talking about it was Valentine's Day last week. You were worried you hadn't got your wife or daughters any flowers, and you emailed CP24 morning host Melissa Grello for some help about where you could go for flowers. Have you heard back from Mel?
No, she has still not emailed me back, so I guess I really creeped her out.
She thinks you were creeping on her.
Yeah.
She thinks you were trying to put the moves on her.
Back! And now I can't send another email because then I'll have an HR paper trail. I don't know what to do.
But Mike and Christoph found flowers like a block away from here.
I found some at Shoppers. Don't worry. And
like flowers at Shoppers?
they had some roses for at 3 a.m. I got them.
By what? By the deodorant?
And the thing is, and you know this from previous dealings, my daughter, who's 5, whenever you give her anything, the first thing she says is, "Oh, where'd you get this?" I'm like, "Why do you even have to ask this?"
That comes from you. That's probably
especially
from you.
when I got it at Shoppers.
I got it at the 24-hour drugstore.
So you're going to love this. I can't wait to play this game. Hopefully it doesn't go on too long. I was at Casino Rama, which is a casino in northern Ontario. Well, I don't know what part of it.
It's in Rama, Ontario.
It's in the middle of nowhere. Very beautiful. Went up there, brought the family because nothing says family vacation like going to a casino. They wanted to swim, and I let the kids bounce on beds, so we went there.
Well, you really know how to show them a good time, Tulsi.
So once everyone was in bed, my sister and her daughter came up. So my sister and I walked down to the casino, and performing that night at Rama
Oh, boy.
was Michael Bolton.
Shut up.
So the funny thing is, before the show, I saw a casino employee. He looked like he ran the place. He's like, "Love the podcast tools." I'm like, "Perfect." So I saw him on the way back. He's like, "You didn't go to the show?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Yeah, I thought you would." because we played Michael Bolton before. But I did run into a coworker of ours coming out of Michael Bolton with his wife of 25 years. Name that coworker.
Holy man. Gino Retta.
Not Gino Retta.
Oh, man. I thought I had it.
Michael Bolton was playing or something when they first started dating. So now Michael Bolton's almost 60.
Okay, I'm going to say, give me one more guess, and that guess is going to be...
Not direct TSN employee. Well, I guess a division of TSN, but not a TSN like Sports Center employee.
Alan Thicke.
No.
Who is it?
Claude Fig.
Claude Fig.
Colangelo weighs in on Gardnerone and what's up with antler spray. Good evening, I'm Claude Fig with this TSN 1050 Sports Center update.
Formerly of CFTO Sports, now of TSN Radio Toronto. He does Toronto Rock games.
Claude Fig took his wife to a Michael Bolton concert at Rama?
Very beautiful woman. She gave me a Mentos.
Is that what was going on in your head as she handed you the Mentos?
No. What was going on when I saw all these couples? We'll leave Claude and his wife out of this because they have a beautiful family. I'm sure the family wasn't there. But while walking past all these people, I'm like, how many of these people are just going home to go to town on each other?
Just bang. Well, Claude and his wife are probably banging in the Rama that night.
I should have brought Claude up after it. But
Claude was just probably like, you think Claude put on like an old Michael Bolton wig and then they like role played?
No, he's got a good head of hair.
No, but that's what I'm saying. But the old Bolton wig was like the long mullet, so he puts that on, and then he's like, "Hey baby, who wants to bang Michael Bolton tonight?"
So I'm thinking, if you bring your wife or girlfriend to Michael Bolton and you don't get some, you're that's the end of it, isn't it?
Or if she is so disgusted with the show, are you more turned on? Are you like, yeah, I love this woman, I'm going to marry her?
But I don't think newlyweds go there.
I'm really astounded that Claude Fig went to a Michael Bolton show.
I was very proud of him. He was happy. He was like glowing.
So Rama, where Casino Rama is, just north of Aurelia.
Yep.
North of Lake Simcoe. So you could have taken the kids to Florida pretty much.
I didn't want to go to an airport and that. I'm just like, let's just go. There's a pool there.
Pretty much, yeah. You did bring up a good point. Like, if you have kids, you go to any hotel anywhere with a pool, they're just like, great, fantastic.
There was devastating news when we checked in, though. There was a sign that said, sorry, pool out of service. I'm like, what happened? So the lady's like, it's cleaning. I'm like, come on, what happened? She's like, some kid threw up in it.
Oh, I thought you were going to say took a dump like Caddyshack.
No, but it must have been a very contained puke because it was open an hour later.
Oh, contained puke? Like puked in a bag?
No, like it just didn't spread. Maybe she just did it on the ledge.
South Canada, here I come.
What? Contained puke. That'd be a good name for a band, Contained Puke.
I like that name.
Wow. Well, that's quite an adventurous weekend you had up there at Rama.
and I was Jerry Seinfeld. I was even Steven.
Oh, you did. You did play. What did you play? Blackjack? No, you play craps, right?
I play craps.
Yeah.
Played a little blackjack. Mm-hmm. And is the rule not if you're sitting at the blackjack table, the new person joining the game waits until the shoe is done, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was on such a roll. I was sitting there at 10 a.m. playing blackjack while my family swam.
Wait a minute.
We had to check out at 11.
You bring the family up. Your wife's like, no, let's check out. You're like, no, I need just an hour more, baby.
No.
Just an hour more and I'll break it even.
Here's the
Come
thing,
on.
because I had a bunch of chips she found in her purse. So I'm like, I'll just go cash it in.
What do you mean she found them in her purse? You just dumped them in there?
Well, I threw them all in there because there were so many I had. So I just threw them in her purse. So I had to go to the casino to cash them in anyway. So I sat down, I was on a roll, and then some guy just all of a sudden came and joined the game. I gave him a disgusted look and walked away and went and rejoined my family.
Oh, mate, your wife probably sent him over.
Exactly.
Wow, that is quite an adventurous weekend. Hey, one thing I forgot to bring up last week that I really enjoyed from the weeks where I was away was James Duthie's impersonation of you being late for a golf game that you guys were supposed to play together. Here it is.
This is the Toolsy. You look at Toolsy. I got a tea time tomorrow, but we're like first group out at Wooden Stick, so it's
And keep
like,
in mind, I work till 2 a.m.
It's like 7:20. Okay, so can you make? If you can't make it, I totally understand. I know you have a late shift. No problem, Jimmy. I'll be there, Jimmy. I live right out there. I'll be there. I'm in the Schwa. It's just 5 minutes up the road. Okay, Toolsy, but like the guys I'm playing with, they'll get pissed off if there's not a fourth. Okay, because there's a long line of people who'd want to play. No problem. I'll be there. I'll be there, Jimmy. Hole number 5. Toolsy, where are you? Oh, I did the AM PM thing on my alarm clock. Oh my gosh. I'll get there right away. So I guess that's my Toolsy impersonation.
I'm like, shucks.
And you get there, and you did. You got there in about the 10th hole, and we'd had 9 carryovers, and you won the skids.
That was so accurate. So very accurate. You're always claiming you're never late, too.
I'm never late for anything. Never.
Except for golf, apparently.
Well, it's just Duthie. I went and stole his money. So that's good.
Oh, you're on a bit of a roll, aren't you?
The All-Star Game, the NBA All-Star Game was this past weekend. Can we end all All-Star games?
I couldn't agree more, and I'm so glad you brought this up. If I could do one thing as super commissioner of all 4 major sports, would be to eliminate all the All-Star games completely.
Genius. That was genius. That's what I'm talking about. It's probably the biggest hoax since Bigfoot.
You name the teams in a nicely worded press release. You hand that press release out to all the radio stations and TV stations across North America. They can do their interviews with the various players and All-Stars. They get financial bonuses tied to their contracts, and we all move on. The players take a 2-3 day break where they can take their kids to Casino Rama. And then we all move on with the second half of the season.
Okay, scrap the games, but people still like the All-Star weekend in which they can go to like the fan fest and all that.
Do they?
Wait, fans do, yeah. I remember coming when Toronto hosted the one and only All-Star game that they hosted.
I've been to All-Star games. They're okay.
As a kid, I loved it because there was so much to see and do. And plus, my dad was happy because we got him for free. Because we pulled up to the Metro Toronto Convention Center on the wrong side. So we walk in. We're right in the middle of FanFest. He goes, just keep walking, keep walking, keep walking, keep walking. We're in. Free.
Wait, so much of the way you turned out is explained in some of the stories of your childhood. Really is.
But if they had a FanFest, so the players that were voted in arrive, maybe even do like a camp with the kids or meet and greets, and then they're out of there. No game. I think fans would like that. So,
okay.
So the league does get like a 3-day break so everyone can recover from their injuries. And such.
Fair enough. I mean, or, some sort of skills competition like the dunk contest is just played out. That's the problem. Like, it's over now. But maybe something like the funny thing is the NBA is the best one out of all 4. I think it's the best one. It's the best game. I
refuse to watch any of them.
Skills around it. The Pro Bowl is an absolute farce. The NHL game is an absolute farce. Baseball's marginally better, and the NBA is probably the best. And even it sucks crap. They're all crap.
Aren't they getting rid of the Pro Bowl?
They always say they are. Is that official? Have you guys heard anything about that?
No.
They moved it to Florida, then they moved it back to Hawaii. It's just embarrassing. Guys get injured in it. It's like, why did we play this?
I know.
What are we doing here?
Why? And this weekend, I'm going to Daytona, the Daytona 500. I went for my first time last year and was the first one ever rained out. So I get to see an actual race, I hope, this weekend. And
Danica. Danica's got the pole.
I know.
That's pretty huge. Who's she dating now?
She's dating another driver.
Yeah, who is it?
Who's she dating again? I'll find that. But
Inter-office romance.
But people already on Twitter, because I mentioned it last podcast, they're like, "Oh, are you the low man on the totem pole? You have to go to Daytona." How about you go to Daytona and then speak?
Wow, you're so sensitive.
No, just why wouldn't you go to like one of the greatest sporting events in North America?
Do we have some of Toolsy's old internet voice? Oh, we might not have that. Oh, Ricky Stenhouse is
Ricky Stenhouse.
Yeah, Ricky. Is he? What's his status in NASCAR right now?
He's
sort of
nationwide.
marginal, right? So why isn't she like dating like Jimmy Johnson or something like that?
Jimmy Johnson's married with children.
No, his wife doesn't have to know that.
Jeff Gordon just did a video like we did, the Harlem Shuffle or Shake.
Oh, the Harlem Shake.
Yeah,
couldn't have been as good as ours.
It was pretty good. He was on top of his car.
The Rainbow Warrior.
Anyway, if you go to a NASCAR race, you're a fan for life. Thanks
for the invite.
You're going to PEI.
I am going to PEI this weekend, and I'm actually really excited about it. I think, Dan, that this is the final Canadian province that I haven't been to. Because for whatever reason, we haven't been to PEI for the craft tour.
I haven't been there in the territories. That's the only places.
Right.
I think that's the first time you've ever called me Dan on the podcast.
Dan, that's your name, though.
I know, but it's
usually Toolsy.
Toolsy, or you're Andre, and
yeah, I am.
So we're getting rid of. So go to Daytona. Just go to a NASCAR race. You'll love it. Talladega is a blast. Here,
love to.
Talking with a buddy last night, and we might, for the first Talladega race of the year, might get a motorhome and go down. You in?
Now you're really rednecking it.
Are you in?
In a motorhome with you?
Yes.
I came from the big city.
Can I get a hotel and just meet you guys at the track?
No, the closest hotel is like 45 minutes from the track.
What is it, at Rama? I have to start at Rama and then drive down to Talladega?
Are you in or not?
Let me marinate on that one a little bit.
You won't.
Let me marinate on
This is one of the things you'd be like, yeah, I'm in. And then like, okay, we're ready to go. Yeah, I can't make it.
No, but I said I wanted to go to a NASCAR race. I did say that. Okay. Didn't we say we were going to go to Talladega this year? And this is why you've come up with your little motorhome idea?
Well, I usually go with NASCAR Canada, and there's no Talladega trip, so we have to do a Renegade trip.
Oh, I see.
Hence the motorhome.
Should we get to our special guest?
Oh, I can't wait for this.
Man, we wanted to get this guy on for a long time. Jonathan Torrens, currently starring on Mr. D on the CBC with our friend Jerry D. He was on Street Sense, which is a show, for whatever reason, everybody knows that show. I guess everybody as old as us. It was on CBC. What was the premise of Street Sense, Toolsy? It
was a show for kids talking about the latest pop culture things, and they always tested gadgets.
And wasn't it like also like they were sort of teaching you about money?
Yes.
It was like the way Sesame Street does, like you didn't know you were learning it.
Exactly. I could have learned a lot more from that show.
You're hanging out in motorhomes.
Rama wasn't good to me.
And then of course he hosted and produced Jonovision, his talk show, which was kind of ahead of its time. It was a CBC talk show for a long time. It's on Trailer Park Boys as J-Rock.
Well, let's ask him all about it.
John!
It's Jonathan Torrens calling from Manhattan. Can you hear me?
Hey, John. Great to hear from you. It's Jay on right here alongside Dan O'Toole.
Jay, Dan, good evening. Great to hear your voices, and I trust that you're both well.
Jonathan, you scared the crap out of me because it's the first time someone's actually called into the studio during our podcast, and there's this flashing light. I thought we had an electrical problem. I thought things were on fire.
Great stuff, guys.
Thank you very much. That's our best material. I guess we should wrap up now. Have a wonderful
listen, thanks
time.
for having me on. You guys do me a favor? Take the greatest of care.
We absolutely... Can I say you are a very punctual human being, and we asked you to call at 9 p.m. Eastern, and you were right on the nose.
Do you want to know the truth in the circle of honesty?
Yes.
I have what doctors call a cellular telephone, but the reception is spotty at best. My colleagues wrapped up the workday here about 46 minutes ago. I've eaten some cookies, I've pounded a couple tangerines, and really I was just pacing wear and tear in the carpet waiting till the stroke of 9 so I could call you before I could go home and get drunk by myself.
Are you a pacer when you talk on the phone? I do laps.
It turns out this has a pretty short leash, this phone, so I'm holding it down tight.
Are you on like a rotary dial phone?
No, it has all the numbers and even a speakerphone, but I won't put you through that.
Oh.
I'm in, just to set the scene, gang.
Yeah.
I'm in a building called Manhattan Center Studios, a facility that boasts original carpet in the heart of Midtown.
Ooh.
And it is a place where a lot of MTV shows happen. It's a place where you open a door at the end of a corridor, and there's nothing on the other side except the smell of disappointment and broken promises.
That is MTV in a nutshell, isn't it?
It is. So it's my first time being here by myself at night, so hopefully something cool will happen.
Now, tell us exactly what project you're working on down there, and don't hold back.
Okay. I'm working on the Jenny McCarthy television program for the VH1 television network.
Ooh.
There is dancing. There also might be drinking. And if you're a fan of folks in ill-fitting spandex dresses, then why this might be the show for you.
I think it goes without saying that we are. Now, is this a talk show, John, or is it a sitcom type
It is,
show?
and I love that we're on a first syllable basis already, Jay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I feel like I know you.
And same with you, Deh. It is a talk show. It's a sort of Playboy After Dark with a side salad of Jay Leno. The idea is she sits on a really expensive chair and interviews today's reality star kind of newsmakers-ish on an expensive couch. And then there's dry humping and also kind of party games, and there is a fully stocked bar and DJ.
I might have to watch this show.
This is not your grandmother's talk show, gentlemen.
What is my grandmother's
This is not the
talk
Alan
show?
Thicke Show.
Yes, the original daytime Alan Thicke Show.
Please welcome Jackson Davies and Valerie Pringle.
Could you compare it to Jonovision?
It can be compared in the sense that we did 3 test episodes, which no one watched. So in that way, it was very much the same.
Right. That show, let's take you back. First, actually, can we talk street sense?
Oh, yes. What's fit for the pit? That was my favorite part. Just throwing junk into a steaming cauldron.
Amen.
How did you end up on that show? That was the big break. That was the type of show. You talk to people now about that show, they still remember it fondly. It was such a good show. You did well,
in Athabasca, Alberta, Jay, I'm guessing that you didn't have the option of having cable.
We only had CBC.
So I suspect you might have been one of those mystery viewers that grew up watching the show. We relied on you folk and also army brats from Lahr, Germany. The Pa, Manitoba, for some reason, was a big hot pot for Street Sense viewers. We got a lot of letters from there.
Well, they're frugal.
Nobody from Peterborough, Dan.
No one from Peterborough.
I remember a couple letters from Omimi over the years, which is a suburb of Peterborough. Am I right?
That's my wife's hometown.
Isn't that where Neil Young is?
Hey, pump the brakes there, braggart.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, my wife almost hit you with a car once because I said you were coming on the show, and she said, once we were at a stoplight, and then this guy started coming across, and I slammed on the brakes. I'm like, we almost ran over Jonovision, and you waved and smiled.
Did I?
Yes.
Why didn't she have the brake fully engaged at a red light in the first place? When I put that story through a colander, that's the nugget I'm left with.
No, because you were jaywalking. It would turn green, and you still came out.
I was jaywalking.
Wow. Good segue. Trailer
I'm
Park
gonna
Boys.
use that.
By the way, I steal one of your J-Rock things on SportsCenter all the time because we have a reset portion at the midway point of the show. So I always say, resetting SportsCenter.
I'm familiar, and there's really no better tribute that could be paid.
Do you think you'll sue him for that one day?
I won't. It's the sincerest form of flattery, and in the under the umbrella category of earnestness and sincereness, if we can marinate there for a moment. I'm a big fan of the show, guys, and I'm a frequent watcher, and I get tickled every time you either share a pop culture sentiment that I myself haven't verbalized yet, or every time there's kind of a Trailer Park Boys name check.
Okay, so Trailer Park Boys star, Street Sense star, Jonovision star. You're now one of the stars on Mr. D. Of those 4 I just named, of course, you've done a million other things. You're doing Wipeout Canada. You're on like 800 shows. Which one of those I just named is your favorite?
Probably for help when it's needed, call 911. Now, this was a project I did for the Alberta MAD organization. And Jay, you're from Alberta. You will recognize this material, I'm sure, but I was interviewing some high school kids about what it's like to drink and drive, and they actually used quantities of alcohol to describe how far they lived between each other. Like, well, it's 8 Coors Light to get to Dennis's house.
That's awesome.
And then it's a pint over to Daryl's from there.
That was their form of distance measurement.
Yeah, and this was as part of a Guys We Probably Shouldn't Drink and Drive video.
And did this actually air on Alberta television?
No, it was used by Mothers Against Drunk Driving as a learning tool, and maybe, I guess, to shine a light on the don'ts. I can't imagine it was too helpful.
I think maybe the do's. I'd like to order up that DVD on Amazon.
Yeah, what did the woman from the Edmonton Eskimos Painted House say? Why not, eh?
Why not, eh? We'll get that out for you.
You had one of my favorite, I think one of my favorite TV moments of all time, second or third episode of Mr. D this year when you vomited.
Yeah.
Why not, eh?
Why not, eh? Do you want to know the industry trade secret behind throat meal?
I wanted to know what it was because it looked kind of yellowish. It looked like you were down to the bile.
Very astute, Dan. In the early days, my first on-screen barfings used to be, or is the plural on-screens barfing, like governors general?
Yeah, good question. I think just barf.
Barfs?
Yeah.
Used to be pea soup. That was the go-to viscous liquid. Now, working with the props master on Mr. D, we've concocted a thing that includes grapes that are split, red, seedless, are preferable, oatmeal, and orange juice with some pulp.
Ooh.
You don't want to go full pulpy, but it is both a delight to the taste and also doesn't stain.
It was classic, and I believe everyone was cracking up when it happened. It must have taken a few takes, and I talked to Mr. Jerry D on the way to the taping of this podcast to get some background info. He let me know that you love to play Scrabble, not Words with Friends, but Scrabble.
It's true.
And you have the nicest trailer out of all the cast members.
Wow. So I bought a 1966 Airstream because, as luck would have it, I moved from California back to Nova Scotia as a lifestyle choice 5 or 6 years ago now. And I thought, I don't care. I'll be a realtor. I'll go to Compu College. I'll be an accountant. And as luck would have it, work has just flourished there. I work on Mr. D and work on a show called Call Me Fitz. I did my own show out there. So suddenly I had a bunch of months in the run of a year where I was on set. So I thought I would treat myself to a vintage trailer. And in it, I have tiny travel Scrabble, and it's kind of the lunchtime destination for cast and crew folks.
So a lot of jealousy on the set of Mr. D over your Airstream, Jono?
Not really. It's not like a 1966 silver toaster is the source of jealousy.
Does it have a toilet?
It does. It's not working.
Oh.
It's not working. But I did switch out the shag carpet for some decent laminate.
Is there a rule when we go on the craft tour across Canada? There's a rule on the buses that we take: no number twos, or else you have to pay a fine.
Wow!
Is there the same kind of rule?
Serious, John.
In actors units?
Well, I've snapped off a couple number twos in Sobeys bags just because I'm not sure how the plumbing works. And then the great thing is Jerry does have indoor plumbing, so I just toss them in his waste paper basket.
You'd fit well on a Carnival cruise.
You should co-host this podcast every week.
I would love that. I know you're joking, but I would love that more than I care to confess.
Squeezing off number twos into Sobeys bags is one of my favorite phrases that's ever been uttered on this podcast.
You call it a phrase, we call it a board game in the Maritimes.
Why not, eh?
Can I tell you, if we're talking a local language, can I tell you my favorite East Coast expression?
Let's hear it.
My friend Aaron, his grandmother was 90, and her name was Nan Smith. And she was the kind of woman who smoked 2 packs of Export A Green darts every day. And when she quit them, she said, "Honest to God, Aaron, it's like mourning the loss of a loved one." Mourning the loss of a loved one. But every night she would get Aaron to pour her drinks, and this is the phrase: "Aaron, pour Nan a 4-finger stiffy with a splash for color."
Yes.
My grandma
4
always
fingers of liquor and a splash of mix for color.
My grandma always said, "Make it 3 fingers," and then she always would slip that. Say, maybe 4.
She'd slip that.
And it
fourth
had nothing
digit
to do
in.
with drinking, right, Dan?
Exactly. Hey-o!
That's sick.
You missed our sound effect we played. Christoph, can you play that again?
Hey, going for a dart.
Going for a dart.
We said that once. We came up after the Grey Cup, and some guy was smoking, had a dart hanging out of it, some Jets fan, and that stuck with us ever since. We're like, "Hey, nice dart, bud." And then Onrait yells, "Hey, going for a dart." Now, whenever people see us, they say, "Hey, going for a dart." It's very
I'm going to
odd.
say, I think I first heard blowing a dart from Rick Mercer. Because when we were doing Street Sense, that was the first couple of years of This Hour Has 22 Minutes, and we were in the same building.
Now,
And people used to go stand out back behind the studio and blow a dart.
so maybe we stole that from Mercer. We didn't even know it.
Well,
I don't
dart
think
is a
so.
very Canadian term for a cigarette.
It is.
Can I get back to Street Sense for a sec because I brought up the pit that you
Yes.
threw stuff into? What was it?
It was just an empty, cavernous hole like my heart, except this one had a light and a smoke machine. And the challenge in dropping something in the pit was to not land whatever the product was on the light, because in those early days, of course, we could only afford one, and if we had to do multiple takes, we couldn't shatter the Flowbee or whatever it was. We needed to reset it.
Of course, that makes perfect sense. And then I've always wondered this about you, because when people refer to you, they refer to you as Jono. Like, does that bother you? Are you happy about that? That's almost like a tribute to the notoriety you've achieved in this country.
Like Cher.
Yeah, your one name.
My mother would tell you that she thinks Jono sounds like an organ grinder's monkey, and I think she's not wrong. My middle name is Ormond, so it was born out of Jonathan O, and I was Jonathan O'Clock as a kid, and it got shortened to John O over the years. And it's kind of gone away since Jonovision. I mean, these are shows that in September of this year, I will celebrate 25 years since I started on Street Sense.
Wow. This is so. What are you going to do to celebrate? Squeeze off a number 2 in a Sobeys bag?
Is there any better way?
I don't think so.
I might make some yellow ice cubes and pound a 4-finger stiffy with a splash for color. So these shows have been it's been a long time since I started and a long time since I've thought about them. So even Jonovision has been off the air for almost 15 years. Is that possible?
I guess it is possible.
Yeah, I've got the dates here, 89 to 96.
Yeah.
But could you have done that forever? I mean, could you conceivably hosted that show forever, a la Letterman, and just, gone into this good night as a great Canadian talk show host?
Well, so Jonovision, most of the shows that I've done, particularly in my younger career, I can now look back on fondly. At the time, it didn't ever feel very cool. Now I can say Jonovision was a platform for up-and-coming bands and actors that wouldn't have otherwise had the exposure, and of that I'm very proud. It was also the cumbersome wrestling match between the show we wanted to do, which was a sketch comedy show for teenagers, and the earnest sit-around on beanbags and rap about the issues show that our public broadcaster wanted to do. So when I turned 30 and had been doing that show for 5 years, my point to CBC was, it's not that I'm claiming it's a ratings juggernaut, but I've accessed this audience that you don't have otherwise. So let me grow older with them, because the people who started watching me on Street Sense and Jonovision are now also 30. So let me just move to the other side of the National and keep doing the show for the same people. And there was a feeling internally that I hadn't kind of proven I could handle a show by myself.
What
a bunch of
Well, it is kind of aardvark when you think about it now.
It's aardvark.
But
and then Strombo comes along and steals your shtick.
He did not. He's
I'm just kidding.
He is among my favorite broadcasters, and he's far smarter than anything I was ever doing. And he's also, as you know, a very gracious and cool guy, and has been kind enough to even say as much publicly that I paved the way. I don't know that I'm the Rosa Parks of Canadian talk shows.
Well, that was Alan Thicke.
I want that on a T-shirt.
That was Alan Thicke.
That was Alan Thicke.
Now, George is a great guy. He's one of those guys you're like, man, I'd love to hate him, but then you talk to him, you're like, God, he's too nice.
You just can't. And he's also, I know you guys are students of the craft and fans of the genre. He's also just such a solid broadcaster that
he is.
That you just can't find fault in his game at all. Try though we might.
Hey, can I?
Go
Sorry,
ahead, Dan. We have so many questions.
I know.
We're just jumping all over each other.
I want behind the scenes Trailer Park Boys while shooting that, where the guys was everyone getting liquored, or no?
The most interesting kind of factoid around that is John Dunsworth, who's journeyman Halifax actor, or Halifactor as we call it out there, doesn't drink. The guy who plays Mr. Leahy. And he provided one of the most valuable insights. If you guys are ever trying to play drunk on camera, when you're really drunk, you're trying to pretend you're not. When most people are acting drunk, they're stumbling all over the place and hitting walls and falling down and stuff, whereas he discovered that the more you kind of tried to suppress that stuff and then have big moments of physicality, the funnier it played. So I think as far as on-screen drunks go, he's amazing.
He really was good.
The short answer about the other guys is, you simply can't ingest or imbibe take after take after take and keep it together. The funny thing about that show is, in the first couple of seasons, I remember driving home at the end of the day and thinking, well, that was the most fun I've ever had at work, but I can't imagine anyone outside of Dartmouth is going to ever watch this or find it funny. So that it has traveled as far as it has, and keeps finding new audiences and travels even further and further is A, inconceivable, and B, completely a delight.
Well, they do a traveling road show. And do you ever show up at it?
I don't. I did a few dates early on, but a lot of the characters that I've done have been on shows that are kind of real and not really real, like Joe Schmo and Trailer Park and things like that. And it gets kind of weird suddenly when I'm touring as a fake rapper. Like, I don't even understand that.
How much leeway did they give you to sort of create your own character there, sort of take J-Rock and run with it?
Well, Mike Clattenburg, who created the show and is the mastermind behind it, he and I work together on Street Sense. And Halifax has the largest black population per capita in Canada. So there were so many J-Rocks and so many dudes who spoke with that kind of patois around where we were. We talked like that back at Street Sense. So I actually earned the name J-Rock by the guy who plays Julian, Jean-Paul Tremblay, drunk outside the Liquor Dome in Halifax, eh?
The
I was getting an order of fries, and I wanted him to tee up the ketchup. And he said, I'll pass it to you, J-Rock. And that's how J-Rock was born. So when Clattenburg was doing the first season of Trailer Park, it was right after I'd finished Jonovision, and I was looking for the biggest 180 possible career-wise, because I think the only secret to longevity as a kind of character-y actor is to change up your physicality and your voice and your hair, and those are kind of the only tools you have available to you. Like if you have to cast a street legal in Canada, getting on a high-profile series is kind of a curse. So if you want to be in the game for a long time, you have to change it up. So played J-Rock on the first season and thought, wow, that's really fun, but I can't imagine it's going to go on. And sure enough, it did.
By the way, we just got an email from the actors in Murdoch Mysteries. They're very upset with you.
Why?
No, I'm just kidding. They're
Oh, because I said it's a curse. Yeah, right. The only caveat is that if you do a period thing, you're probably okay.
That's true. That you sort of escape it, right? If you're in a period piece.
I think that's true because you take off the hat and no one knows who you are.
Yeah, that's the guy from He Shoots, He Scores. He's in the CBC,
CIBC
commercials, and
version?
now
He Shoots, He Scores was awesome.
You know why you watched that growing up? The odd boob.
Yeah, the skin.
The odd boob.
Have you guys ever seen? I'll get back to the trailer park. What we couldn't say in a second, but have you guys ever seen on the YouTube machine? There is footage of a mini putt tour from Quebec in the late 1970s. I'll send you the link. But the announcer is like, "Et regarde ses yeux, c'est comme une jeune roquette Richard. Et il tire, et c'est dans le trou." It has all the intensity of a hockey game, but there's chain link fence and guys in nylon jackets watching from 50 yards away in the background.
If you send us that link, we'll throw it up on our podcast Twitter
Amazing.
account. That would be very kind of you.
Mr. D style.
You briefly mentioned you guys are about to do a third Trailer Park Boys movie, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the short answer to your question about languages, in the early going with the network, there was actually a barter system whereby, because none of this was, there wasn't a precedent for any of it, so we would trade three for a and as the years went on, they kind of backed off on that a little bit. And frankly, when you make up a word like word or not, no one at the CRTC can find any documentation to suggest that word is not allowed.
It's like Mr. Lee, the cane.
Yeah. So in coming up with J-Rock words, especially when they're like map and map, if you pronounce it a bunch of different ways, technically those are three different words, and none of them contain swearing.
The best part is that all this is going to be bleeped out, and we won't know what you just said.
Yeah, right. Whereas on the other hand, if I said, then that would be fine.
Yeah.
So you might as well just pause, and you can put a bleep in there.
But it will be funny. Bleeping's always funny. I'm watching Jon Stewart every night. Every time he swears, he bleeps. It's great. It's fantastic.
Jay, Dan, you guys are a couple of guys. All you have to do is throw in a bleep.
And we will.
And let people wonder.
I guarantee you there will be one in there. Hey, tell me about the origin of the clean-cut, keen sports guy you played a little bit on Air Farce.
Wow.
Do you remember that?
Deep.
Do you remember that?
I do indeed. And it's I have a sportscaster, newscaster, a kind of stock guy that lives in my realm of characters. And I actually played him on the Jenny McCarthy show last week.
Let's hear it.
I was a game show host. So the most importantly, you need downward inflection at the end of your sentences. And there are guys who can really do it, like you guys, and like James Duthie is a great broadcaster. He's phenomenal, and
He's
Rod
a
Black
dick.
is a good broadcaster.
He's good.
But I learned so much from having your Chris Cuthberts and your Ron McLeans on Jonovision back in the day, Scott Russell, guys like that, because they don't use a prompter, those live event guys.
It's true. That makes them worse, though. We're better for having to read off the screen.
Well, you're better because you can talk and read. Those guys, we know they can talk, but that's it.
That's it. Who knows if they're even literate?
But I remember the Clean Cut Keen Sports guy was kind of born out of a sort of newscaster character that I had. You can see a thing that Mike Lamberg and Rob Wells made called Dicks on the YouTube, in which I play that guy too. Mostly like the Stone Phillips-ness of broadcasting. I'm so fascinated by it. And I remember he did a special called Stone Goes Home a couple of years ago where he sat his dad down in front of a fire in leather wingback chairs. And the first question was, Dad, what was I like as a boy? And this is like in the first 12 seconds of an hour-long special. Like, where the is this going? Like, the self-important broadcaster is my favorite. And if you haven't live tweeted along with Keith Morrison on a Dateline Friday,
it's the best.
But, like, give me some a vino and a bowl of corn chips and a Dateline.
Because Keith Morrison's always searching for a murderer. He's like, but he didn't know what to expect.
Oh, my God.
Or did he?
Have you seen Bill Hader? Keith Morrison?
Bill Hader does the best Keith Morrison.
Fantastic. And there was even, I don't know if it's still on YouTube, but you guys would like this as kind of production insiders too. There was a stand-up that Keith did while driving a vehicle, and the camera was on the side passenger door mirror, and Keith is addressing the camera, and the camera's finding him in the mirror from the back seat. It's the most elaborate and heinous setup you'll ever see in broadcasting.
City TV used to do that kind of stuff all the time to perfection.
And Keith Morrison's Canadian, correct?
Yeah, that's
and
right.
he also appeared when they announced Gandalf or whoever that, not Gandalf, that's
what?
Gandolfini?
No, on Seinfeld. On Seinfeld when they announced who the murderer was when that one episode and Jerry's waiting backstage at the Tonight Show and then
Keith
yeah,
Morrison
he
appeared
appeared
as a newscaster in the episode.
He appeared on Seinfeld.
That's true, he did.
Phenomenal. And he's Matthew Perry's stepdad.
What?
Is that true? Wow.
Yeah, Google that.
That's fascinating.
If we're talking, like, I'll take Canadian broadcasters for 800, Alex. How about Mark Daly from City TV?
Oh, what a voice.
We're having technical difficulties, but we're working on it, so please stand by.
Man, that guy was a legend. I mean, and you know what? I loved his little interstitial when the movie would end and the news would come up and he would tell you what was coming up. He was genuinely hilarious in all those little things.
Very
his little
funny.
promo.
And I remember it was kind of at the same time Kids in the Hall was around, and that whole idea of breaking the fourth wall and kind of judging the material was kind of so new to me, and I was kind of a young guy. That blew my mind. The fact that he would say, coming up next to Three Amigos, it's not great, and ruin the plot.
I always remember when CP24, the news station in Ontario, launched, and I remember that Mark Daly was given a late night interview show called Daily Live Nightly, and I thought, oh, this could be good. You know, I like Mark Daly, and his first guest, Moses Znaimer.
Oh. Of course.
Yeah, so that was the end of that.
Careful you don't break your back sucking your own there, bud.
Oh, my God.
What was the talk show in Toronto? I think it was in the late 70s, and it was before my time there, but the sidekick was called Gardner Westbound.
Oh, I don't know. Mike Gentili, do you know?
Somebody had that idea driving home from work one night, stuck in traffic.
Gardner Westbound.
We're going to have to look for that. Maybe we can send that question out.
By the way,
listeners.
in Canada, because in the States, or I don't know where they do it, but I guess it's just in the States, the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
They could easily do a 6 degrees of Jonathan Torrens. Easily.
Probably.
Because, yeah, everyone has a connection with you somewhere in Canada.
Well, I'm kind of... I guess I've been working long enough and kind of my career's been varied enough that the kids nowadays, some of them know me as Emma's dad on the new Degrassi. Some older folks know when I sat in on Air Farce years ago, and there are all kinds of people in between. So I kind of like being under the radar. That's kind of my wheelhouse. And people are familiar with me but not sick of me. And I'm very thankful for that because it allows me to keep working.
I am so sick of you right now.
Are you?
Can you just not work for 1 year?
Do you know? But as a freelancer, you probably have dental and your employees have a
That's
thing.
a good point.
I've been tap dancing for nigh on 3 decades now as to where my next gig is coming from.
You know what?
So,
You know what? We're owned by Bell now, so we get 35% off our cable. And wait. Bell also owns The Source, so we get discounts at The Source, but it's only on stuff you don't need. So
how much of that is true?
That's completely
That's
true.
all true, John. All
You
of
get a
it.
break on your cell phone bill?
Yeah, we do get cell phones, but barely. Dan's is 14 years old.
But here's the thing. You go into The Source and you're like, all right, I'm getting my discount on that TV. You only get 5% off that.
And
Okay,
you get
battery.
a Zenith 18-inch.
But batteries, you can get 40% off.
You can get a SpectraVision, no problem, to put on top of your TV and watch porn. But other than that, forget it.
Scrambled porn.
That's right.
Welcome back to Scrambled Porn with Dan O'Toole. You should narrate Scrambled Porn, Dan.
That would be a nice career move for Dan.
Like in a little translator egg at the bottom of the screen.
I think we just saw an ass. Yep, that's definitely. Oh, I don't know.
We have Bush.
I would watch that weekly. Hey, Dan, does your cell phone have a cord? Because technically that's...
Yeah, that's not a cell phone anymore.
That's just a phone, bud.
It's still got an antenna. It's still
just
got
have
an
a
antenna
phone,
that
bud.
you have to pull up. That was my first cell phone. People always would put the antenna up. Did that even work? No chance.
No chance.
Hello, Zach Morris's phone.
Probably
Well, Jono, we've already taken too much of your time. You're sitting in a studio all alone on a phone tethered to a cord.
It's kind of beautiful, isn't it?
Sounds awesome, actually. Now, when do we get to see the Jenny McCarthy show? Tell us that.
I think if you come down to the United States of America and watch the VH1 on Friday nights, it might be on YouTube.
Has it started already? Are you firing that bad boy up already?
Yeah, it started last week. It's actually, I'll tell you guys because he'll never hear it. Josh Groban was booked as one of the guests on our first show, along with Jocelyn Hernandez, who is one of the gals on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, which is a show that does well on VH1.
Okay.
And the Grobster,
Josh
Growworm,
yeah,
walks into the studio, sees the scantily clad dancers mounted on, pedestals or plinths, and says, I'm not really comfortable with this.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, so his people hooked him, and so it was after we were supposed to start taping, and we had to come up with a new plan, and that's one to grow on.
Whoa, so Grobon didn't want one to grow on?
No, he didn't want to do any grobing.
See, I heard Grobon was a finalist for the Regis to replace Regis. You think
by
he'd
the
be
way,
cool
I've
with
since
that?
heard he crushes more box than a Staples employee on Boxing Day.
Thank you very much. Or a Source employee.
He crushes more box than a Source employee after Dan O'Toole's been in to buy an 18-inch Zenith.
Hey, how's Jenny McCarthy look?
I'm going to tell you something. She's a hot-looking tuna.
Yeah?
And she's a nice gal to boot, and she's been very kind to me, and I sincerely couldn't say a bad thing about her. I know that folks like her and some other folks aren't sure, but I can tell you with certainty that she is kind and sincere and hardworking, and in the way that a lot of us in Canada aren't. Like, I'm just generally sheepish in life and happy to be here. These American folks have a very keen sense of their brand and what works for them and how they're perceived publicly, and I don't think we do that in Canada much.
Plus, she has big, beautiful.
Indeed. Does that word get bleeped?
Yeah, probably.
I think you should have someone else's voice say, ideas.
How about yours?
Sure. Ideas. Let's try it again. Say it again.
Plus, she has big, beautiful.
Ideas. That's a pretty good voice, Matt.
I think that's a hit.
Seamless.
Jono, I loved your work on The Grill on the radio in Vancouver with Joe Leary.
Nice.
Award-winning stuff. My buddy wanted me to say that.
Okay.
Do you remember doing that show?
I do. It was in this very same room nary a week ago.
I believe he said you're the first person to say on his show.
Yeah, and I suspect that got bleeped too. I can't remember what context I used it in, but it certainly wasn't in Describe Yourself.
Why are we such prudes as a nation? bothers
I
me.
really feel like we are, and I mean, honestly, the Trailer Park on Showcase was years ago now, and it was entirely groundbreaking, and we have come a long way as far as the words we can use. Do you guys remember when on Larry Sanders they broke the C word barrier?
Yes.
That was
was
a shocking moment in television and a wonderful one.
And that was a show that, I give the CBC credit. They introduced that show to most of us Canadians because, as you know, that's the only channel I had. It was Street Sense and Larry Sanders.
Yeah, and that was before Ken Finkelman.
That's
did the
right.
Newsroom, which was also groundbreaking in a totally different way.
That's so true.
Yeah.
You weren't on that show, though.
I wasn't.
It was the only show that you weren't on.
It is. But the interesting thing is, it's in a relatively short period of time, like the whole mockumentary thing, even 10 years ago when Trailer Park started and it was sold to BBC America, most of the people who watched it down here weren't sure if it was a documentary or a drama, because a lot of people who live here live that way. So in a very short period of time, we've now not only accepted the mockumentary, but it's kind of single camera comedy is kind of the go-to device.
Like The Office and Parks and Rec. And yeah, you're
and
right.
That kind of, as a storyteller, that kind of interview to camera stuff can get you around so many logistic storytelling challenges. Can I tell you guys a neat piece of trivia?
Of course.
The producers of a show that would become My Name is Earl came to Canada to talk to Mike Clattenburg and the producers of Trailer Park, Mike Volpe and Barry Dunn, about the possibility of buying the format. And those guys were like, so, like, what, Philip Seymour Hoffman as Bubbles? Like, what do you mean? Like, recast and do your own version? And that's what they wanted to do. So the guys were still hopeful that Trailer Park would get a major sale in the U.S., so they said, we don't think we're going to pursue that. So they said, okay, well, we like the idea of doing a show with some lower-class folks, so they made My Name is Earl.
Fascinating.
Not that it exists only because of Trailer Park, but it was certainly in the zeitgeist at the time. We get an assist, I guess.
Got the wheels spinning in their head, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah.
We got them pooping in a Sobeys bag about the same kind of ideas.
You know, I'll say this. Philip Seymour Hoffman as Bubbles. I don't mind that idea.
Right.
PSH is Bubbles.
Who would you cast as Ricky and Julian?
Okay, I think you go with... maybe you go with Martin Lapointe, former Boston Bruins forward, as Julian. And then for Ricky, I think...
Wow.
And then who do you go with for Ricky? Boy, that's a tougher one, I think.
Hey, I've been trying to hit up, because I'm in New York, I'm from PEI, I've been trying to hit up Brad Richards on the Twitter to like, hey, bud, any tickets around? Nothing.
Hey, speaking of that, Jonathan, I'm actually going to PEI this weekend. Any advice? Any strip clubs I should hit up? Or
I'll tell you one thing that you have to do, and every time someone's going to Charlottetown, I tell them this, and they're like, okay, but I'm dead serious. Take your mouth to the Canton Cafe restaurant in downtown Charlottetown and eat a 6-pack of egg rolls.
Okay.
It'll take the edge right off. It's like, well, I always say it's like biting into an angel's diaper.
Oh, that sounds...
It is. It sounds, first of all, like an egg roll in Charlottetown, maybe. I don't know what makes them so delicious, but even when I big them up this much, when people go there, they have them, and they can't believe it.
They actually live up to the hype.
And if you want to sound like a local, order a Monkey Knots.
Monkey Knots.
That's the chicken balls with sweet and sour sauce. Monkey Knots.
I'm writing this all down, all this information.
Can I steal Angel's Diapers for the name of my second TV show? Angel's Diapers with Dan O'Toole?
Shouldn't that be your autobiography? Biting into an angel's diaper, the Dan O'Toole story. Scrambled porn, the Dan O'Toole story.
Jonathan, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. We really appreciate it. You were fun.
Guys, I sincerely appreciate you reaching out, and I'd be happy to do it again anytime.
We don't do reach around, sorry.
Next time, I was thinking Kia should name their new car the Reach-A-Rondo. Next time, I would like to interview you gentlemen, and let's turn the table Stone Phillips styles. Guys, what were you like as boys?
I need to see that interview now.
Yeah, you do. I'll try to find that one and send it to you, too.
Perfect. Thanks, Jono.
Okay, fellas, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Talk soon, bye.
What a guest.
He was fun. We have to get him on again.
Oh, so good.
You could guest host.
You got to, if you haven't seen that puke scene from Miss, oh my God. I've watched it 30 times. It's still on my PVR. By the way, if you watch a show PVR, it doesn't count towards ratings. So if you really like a show, you should watch it live.
Is that true? It doesn't count towards ratings?
Yeah.
See, that's really not right. I think in the States it does, doesn't it? Aren't they starting to measure that in the States?
Can we come up with some technology?
Pull it together, Canada. We need all the ratings we can get.
Do people still have TiVos? Are they still around?
I think
they're done,
in the
right?
States they are, yeah. I think so.
Okay.
But like people are starting to get rid of PVRs in the States. I noticed like they're streaming everything now. Everything's online, Tulsi. Online.
Speaking of online, it's time for TV Theme Vault. I'm so excited for
that. That
this.
was a terrible segue, but I can't wait. What are we doing first?
Thundercats.
Thundercats!
Thundercats are on the move. Thundercats are loose. Hear the magic, hear the roar. Thundercats are loose. Thunder, 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 Thundercats. Thunder, 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 Thundercats. Thunder, thunder, Thundercats. Thunder, 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 Thundercats.
Is this the longest cartoon intro ever? What? This is like an entire episode in the credits.
That's Mumra that you just saw there. So that's Thundercats. On right, you weren't a Thundercats fan. You never watched it.
I think I just missed it. I think I'm just a little bit older than you and Mike Gentile and Christoph, and I think I just missed it, like just a smidge. But I will say one thing. I really am a big fan of Mr. Mistopheles. How long was he on the show?
You mean Snarf?
Oh, Snarf. That's the one you always talk about. Snarf, Snarf.
Snarf, Snarf.
Right.
He said that after every sentence he said. He'd just say Snarf. But
he was like the comic relief. He was the Jar Jar Binks of Thundercats.
Exactly. So that was from 85 to 89. And I believe there's a new Thundercats out. They've redone it.
Really?
It's come back. So it was huge. I've got the Lion-O action figure. He was the lead character, the leader of the Thundercats. He does not have the sword anymore. He came with a sword, and you hit a button on his back. So now all he does is this.
So he just, like he's stroking himself.
Yes. That's all he does. Because his hand is even open in the position.
Right. So he's ready to go.
Yeah, it's...
But Mike Gentile brought up a good point, though. In those opening credits, like Lion-O's sword started small, and then like a meteor got large, large and stiff.
That show, part of so many people's childhoods. But Mumra is a terrifying character, as you just saw. That was too scary for kids' cartoons.
Well, Skeletor was pretty scary.
Oh yeah, Skeletor was. What a creep.
Yeah, I don't know how I missed Thundercats. I'm not that upset about it.
What'd you pick out for TV Theme Vault?
Well, this is another one that was on... I'm never going to run out of shows from the 80s that were on deep into the night in Australia. And this is another one starring Tony Danza, shockingly playing a character called Tony.
There's more to life than what you're living. So take a chance and face the wind. An open road and a road that's hidden. Brand new life around the bend. There were times I lost a dream or two. Found a trail. At the end was you. There's a path we take and a path not taken. The choice is up to you, my friend. The nights are long, but you might wake to a brand new life, brand new life, brand new life around the bend.
Whoa. Who's the boss?
The Brand New Life theme song was written by series creators and executive producers Cohen and Hunter, and music composed by Larry Carlton and Robert Kraft.
Oh, Bob Kraft. What a composer.
Who's the Boss ran for 8 seasons, 100, almost, they didn't make it to 200 episodes. They were 4 shy.
It was a juggernaut. It was a big hit for ABC.
And we know your favorite character on that show.
Oh, listen. When you were a kid growing up in the 80s, Alyssa Milano was the girl that you had a crush on. She was so pretty.
Is she still modeling MLB gear?
I think so. She still has her, that was a brilliant move on her part. She was like, I'm every pitcher in the majors. I might as well make some money off of this.
Who is the mom? Judith Light.
Judith Light, yeah. And then, but the best character was the slutty grandmother, Mona.
Oh, yeah. She'd
come in, she'd be like, I banged 4 sailors. Hi, kids.
So she was just infested with disease.
Just full of STDs back in the 80s. She probably banged magic.
Judith Light is now 64. Oh.
She does look pretty good, actually. She looks pretty good.
I believe that was a picture from a few years ago. I don't think that's current.
And then Jonathan was the younger brother. And he was a little wimpy kid. And that was basically the show. He was like a housekeeper, and he moved to the good part of New York because he wanted Samantha, his daughter, to have a better life. Samantha!
And the grandma's still alive. She's 83 now. Catherine Marie Hellman.
Look at those. She has got a great rack.
She looks pretty good. Again, I don't think these.
I Catherine Hellman.
I think these are not current.
She's married, unfortunately, so I won't get my chance.
Yeah, so.
No, I'm sorry. Toolsy had her Wikipedia page out and saw her beautiful chest. I couldn't help myself.
She and her husband are practicing Buddhists.
Fantastic. I'll practice some Buddhism with her, if you know what I'm saying. Hey, Mona, you want to practice some Buddhism? No, I don't do that anymore. You're a slut and you know it.
This podcast is already running long. We apologize. There is no Mark of the Week because Mark's is no longer a sponsor. Don't go to Mark's and poop in their pants, okay? Just because you're upset.
Yeah, some people are upset at Mark's. And hey, we're not bitter people. We're going to move on. We're going to find a new sponsor. Still waiting for hell of a good dip to give us a call.
Well, here's the thing. We were suggesting like NOS as a sponsor. And then someone said on Twitter, they're like, why would NOS sponsor? You guys mentioned it 30 times a show.
Exactly. It's ridiculous. We shot ourselves in the foot. Mike Gentili asks, better slut, Mona or Blanche from Golden Girls? See, Mona has the better rack.
I think Blanche is all talk.
Yeah, I don't think she's all talk, but you get those drapes off her shoulders and it's a bony mess.
There's also no more story time with producer Tim. We're retiring that.
This is the final story time with producer Tim.
Thank God. No one's going to shed a tear for that. No one.
Now, before we get to this, Mike, should we get to your story, your final story here about Tim?
Well, and I was worried after last week's podcast that he'd be really upset with me, so I've been trying to avoid him at work. So I saw him twice today, and I just kept doing the old go to the printer. Just put your head down and go to the printer. Just kept getting out of his way. And sure enough, Christoph and I are leaving to record this podcast. And where did we run into Tim? The smoking section.
Having a dart.
Yeah. So I kind of said, hey, we still okay after last week? And he just played it off like, well, I don't really care.
Meanwhile, inside,
I don't really care. I didn't have time to do those. I had nothing.
He was going for a dart. He was crushing a dart.
He really played off. So it was a very awkward conversation. I said, yeah, we're going to move on to some other stuff.
And
well, I don't really care.
And you got a final story out of him, is that right?
Sort of.
Let's hear it.
Can you tell me a bedtime story?
You're fired!
You're fired.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
The end.
And he just dies at the end.
I love that. I love that, Vince McMahon. You're fired. That's great.
So what are we replacing it with? We were thinking, well, everyone's got a better story than whose stories are Tim's better than? Nobody. So we figured we'd bring in Kate to audition. Kate Burness.
Can you tell me a bedtime story?
I don't think so, Tim.
Who's better than Tim? Everybody! Ever since I got married, I can't walk into the newsroom without someone starting the rumor that I'm pregnant, which spreads like wildfire thanks to Jay and Dan.
Wow, so Kate's pregnant. Is that not what we just learned there?
That's what we learned. Kate is with child. So in 9 months, Kate will give birth to a human being.
There's a gentleman who asks us 8 times a day to have Kate on the show on Twitter. So hopefully that will end that.
We'll have her on at some point, but I like that story time with Kate. That's good. I think that's a contender.
All the creeps are going to love it.
Yeah, the creeps will love that. There's guys out there who like pregnancy porn, right, and stuff like that.
Oh my God!
So they'll imagine Kate 9 months pregnant.
But then people are also going to suggest on Twitter. I already know, sexy story time with Kate. A sexy basketball player.
I never start rumors that she's. I just say, "Are you pregnant?"
Oh yeah, you always say that. Yeah, there's no rumors being started. If you say it to the person's face, it's not starting a rumor unless they spread their own rumors about themselves.
Yeah, I'm just hoping for the best for her, that's all.
So give us your thoughts on that. A lot of people want Taggart's Tales.
Yeah.
Jeremy Taggart to tell us stories from the road. I'd love to hear those.
I'd love to hear Vic Rauter's stories from the curling world, too.
When I was in Fort McMurray last weekend, or 2 weekends ago, I ran into him there, and that was his first time back in Fort McMurray since 2000 when the Oil Barons won the Royal Bank Cup. He came to call the game, and I worked in Fort McMurray, so it was a big thing. Vic's here, TSN is here. He says, I remember it. The rink was so loud. And by the way, Jeremy Hotz was saying, I'm not going to Fort McMurray. I forgot to tell him, Kiss played there last summer.
That's true. John Fogerty played there, didn't he? Didn't Fogerty go up and play
They
there?
get some big bands.
I will say this. We got a lot of feedback on that Jeremy Hotz interview. People saying he was a jerk, and he was very nice.
That's the way he is.
Yeah, he's just a currandcurmudgeon.
That's his character.
It's no bigs.
No
biggie.
He was very nice. Like he wasn't being mean. And the other thing I wanted to ask before we head here, because I was thinking this on the way in, and I knew I'd be bringing up Michael Bolton. So these guys come and play these casinos.
Yeah.
And if you play 2 nights and you're at one of these casinos, what do you do all day? Because he can't go gamble because he'll be mobbed by all his fans. So he just sits. I actually ran into someone. They said, I'm glad you asked that. They were renovating a Blockbuster store. So Michael Bolton showed up with 2 of his bodyguards. This is a few years ago when he played Rama. And they're like, "What? Can we help you?" It's like the Blockbusters, all of them are closed. So he's like, "Yeah, want to rent a movie? Like this isn't open. This store's closed." He's like, "Okay." So they hop back in their Escalade and they were just going to rent a movie.
Don't you think that he's just nailing as much as he possibly can in Rama?
How would you line that up though? Do you just go down? Hey, I'm here.
That's what casinos do.
Do they?
I think.
I just know they treat you very well if you perform there. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us this week. I'll have tales from Daytona. Oh, are you going to Daytona? No one else to do it.
Will you do me a favor and drop a deuce into a Sobeys bag and throw it on the track at Daytona?
I'll get thrown out.
But it'd be such a good story.
People will be wondering, what's this Sobeys? Because they'll be analyzing the bag on the footage. They're like, what's in that bag? Sobeys? What is a Sobeys?
Then they'll check through your feces and they'll know, this is Toolsy's poop.
Well, on that note,
have a good week, everyone.
Don't have a poopy week.
They're going home. Let's kick it.
Dance. 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 Keep dancing.
All right, stop. Collaborate and listen. I sit back with my brand new invention. Something grabs a hold of me tightly. Flow like a harpoon daily and nightly. Will it ever stop? Yo.
This is the Jay and Dan Podcast.